It's Friday, the 12th of April, 2024, and this is Friday Sews on Janine Sews. And you likely know the drill. Friday Sews videos, we talk about what's been going on in the sewing room, our plans, and a little bit about what's been going on outside of the sewing room. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. There has been a wee bit of sewing in the sewing room the past couple of weeks. I made this top. This is what I call the winter white jersey that I picked up in the fall. And the intention was to make a winter t-shirt and jeans because I bought the same color denim. Of course, I didn't get around to it, and it is now spring. It's actually spring, although it may snow next week, but the weather has certainly turned, and I didn't want to hang on to this until next fall. So, gosh, I looked at every t-shirt pattern I have, and I couldn't decide what t-shirt to make. It's a t-shirt. So I wound up just using the Cashmerette Concord pattern again, and I think this is the third time, at least the third time, I've used it in the past few months. I like the pattern. I think I'm going to do an FBA next time because it just feels a tad small to me at the front, just at the bust. But it sews up really quickly and easily. It's an evening make. This fabric I will buy more of. I got this at L'Oiseau here in Calgary, and I know a lot of Americans and people across Canada shop online with L'Oiseau, and this is their solid basics jersey. It's 220 grams per square meter, 95% cotton, 5% spandex. It curls a little bit when you cut it, but it's not difficult to work with. And I like the weight of it because it kind of hides all of the movement that's going on underneath the top sometimes that we want to hide. So I'm going to see what other colors they have in this. Since I would like to have some more basic t-shirts, I'll see if there are some colors that'll work for me. I was very happy with the fabric and I like the pattern. The other sewing item that's currently going on is a pattern test. And that's all I can tell you about that one for now. You might notice that the sewing machines are covered up. Because what's really been going on in the sewing room in the past couple of weeks is a lot of thought, introspection, and planning. So back up a little bit. Before I started sewing again in 2015, I was a shopaholic. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. I used to spend every Saturday buying clothes, and I would basically buy a new wardrobe. Well, not an entire new wardrobe, but I would have to have new things for every season. So for spring, I would have maybe 3 or 4 new tops. A couple of those would be t-shirts, a couple would be tops for work, new pair of dress pants, maybe a new dress, some new shorts, a new jacket. And I realized when I was making up my little list of things still to be sewn for spring 2024, I'm trying to recreate that in sewing. And that is just not sustainable. So I have 14 things on this list for spring and summer sewing plans. I've completed 5 of them. I have fabric for all of the other 9 items. But it's going to take me until the middle of July to sew all these things up. And by then I'll have to start on autumn sewing. I thought about how much I really want to sew. What do I really want to sew? I like sewing simple things. Occasionally, I like sewing complicated projects. I had 3 complicated projects in a row because I had the French jacket, which was super difficult for me and took many hours. Then I had the Murcott vest that I had problems with, And then I made the Esmond pants, which I love, but took a lot of time. And I'm not working and I'm devoting like the whole week to sewing. And I don't really want to do that all summer. I want to be able to go outside and do things. And there have been some comments from people in this house that my new job is apparently sewing. And that's not what I want. So I made this list and thought about how much time was required for me to sew all of these things and to find patterns and to go out and get notions. Everything takes more time than you think it's going to. So I decided that I'm going to give myself some grace. I have 3 things I really want to sew in the next little while. None of them are particularly complicated projects, but I have fabric and I want to be able to wear those in the summer. So I'm going to work on those. Then I'm going to a Ron Collins fitting class at the end of May. I have some lovely fabric, the stuff I bought in Olds. I'm going to pick one of those pieces and take one project to that 3-day class and finish that one project. So I don't feel the weight of having multiple things going on and having internal pressure that I've created to get some of these things done and never have a water or an unfinished object. So I'm just going to kind of sit back a little bit, still sewing, but not having 9 things on the go or continually buying fabric for projects that I've committed to myself that I'm going to finish soon, because it's just not going to happen. And I'm going to let myself go shopping. If I really feel that I need something, then I can go to the mall and buy it. I don't have to sew everything. So that's been a lot of what's been going on. Coincidentally, the meetup group had a fabric swap last Saturday. So I was looking at patterns and plans and looking at the fabric. Everything came together really nicely. And with the days getting longer and more light, just kind of cleared my head to sit down and think about what I wanted to sew and then actually look at my fabric. And I know I told you a couple of months ago that I did a little fabric inventory. And I wrote down every piece of fabric I have, except for like small cuts and lining and interfacing. Everything else went in this book. And I was absolutely disgusted with myself when I realized how much fabric I have. I'm going to talk in meters, but this is yards or meters. I had 120 meters of fabric when I did this inventory about 2 months ago. So when the fabric stash came up, on a Sunday afternoon, I opened up my little closet where everything is, and I turned on YouTube and I started going through. And there were some pieces that were just absolute no-brainers. Stuff that's completely the wrong color for me. And it's only by doing these videos and constantly having to look at myself in clothes that I've started to figure out what colors work better for me. So I had a bunch of stuff that I know I would never sew. And actually I showed a lot of it to my nieces and my sister and I said, would you like this? And they all went, no. Because the colors were just not right for any of us. So I was pulling those pieces out. That was easy. But there was still a lot of stuff there that was colors I thought I would probably wear, or things in particular that had meaning to me. Now, while I was doing this, I had YouTube on the TV, and I was watching a video by YouTuber Joey Sewing. I'm gonna link her YouTube channel down below. Now, Joey posts a lot of really good sewing videos. She has for years. Actually, I think she's Jo, but the account is Joey Sewing. But she's also a therapist. And this year, she's talking about some of the feelings and emotions that go along with sewing. And it's very interesting. And she was talking about fabric while I was digging through my stash. The timing was just perfect. Couldn't have been better. Serendipity. And I'd gotten to a few pieces of fabric where I knew the color wasn't quite right. And also the fabric was for dresses I would make to wear to work, but I'm not working anymore. So it was fabric I knew I wasn't going to use. But it was fabric that I had bought in London when I was with my dear London friend who passed away 4 years ago. So there's emotion attached to that fabric. And the timing was right because I was able to listen to what she was saying and think about it. And realize that I was hanging on to the fabric because of its relationship to my friend. Now I have pictures of us shopping for that fabric because we used to always take pictures in the fabric stores. And I have the memories, so I don't need to hang on to that fabric. I can let it go. Lovely fabric. There was one piece of this gorgeous dusty pink crepe. Perfect for a day dress. I'm never going to wear that. The color wasn't quite right. And it's just fabric I'm not going to wear. So I was able to grab a few pieces like that and add them to my fabric for the fabric swap and pass them on to somebody who will use that fabric and enjoy it and love it, and it won't be hanging out in my closet. So the timing of her video and me going through my fabric was just perfect. So after I did that, I made a list of what I was getting rid of, and I looked at my fabric inventory. I think I did this like at the end of January. Since I calculated I had the 120 meters, I bought 22 more meters. I've sewn 14, and I wound up donating 25 to the fabric swap. So I'm at a net of 103 meters of fabric. My goal, I think my goal was to have 80 at the end of the year, but I really want to have less than that. So I'm gonna be looking very hard at what's in that closet that I'm gonna use or not use. I still want to have, I don't know, 30 sounds like a really nice size stash, 30 meters of fabric, but we'll see. Anyway, I am feeling much lighter and more inclined to sew now that I've made a list and cut a few things off that I really wanted, that I had planned to sew, and since I got rid of some fabric, but I do want to get rid of more. Oh, and at the fabric swap, people brought so much fabric to this fabric swap, and I was extremely proud of myself because I came home with one piece of faux leather that I'm going to use to make a bag, and that's all. That's all I brought home. So that's kind of what's been going on in the sewing room. In terms of life, well, spring is finally here. I'm making that pronouncement right now. I think I said that early last week to my husband, and then we had a dump of snow. But the days are getting so much longer. It's a beautiful day. The snow has melted in the front of our house, and all the bulbs are up. There's just solid ice in the back of the house. So it's almost time to start gardening, but not quite. That could change pretty dramatically in the next week or so if the weather forecasts are correct, because I think everything will be melted, and then it's time to start working in the yard and cleaning things up. Nowhere near time to plant things in this part of the world. Where I am, the rule of thumb is that you don't plant anything that's tender, until the 24th of May, which is the Victoria Day weekend, and it's not necessarily the 24th of May, but it's the weekend before Memorial Day, just because we're so much more likely to have frost at night until then. So gardening is on my mind and possibly starting in the next couple of days. In our house, my husband is working on a very big DIY project. He, all by himself, has torn out all the carpet in the basement. Our basement is developed, had carpet, He's torn out all the carpet and he's putting down luxury vinyl plank. The carpet was old and not in very good shape because there have been a lot of pets in this house. So he's putting down luxury vinyl plank. So that's keeping him really busy, which means we're not planning much socially because he's working on that mostly. And now that the weather is getting better, he is pedal to the metal to get that floor done because he wants to get on his motorcycle. I guess we all have to have something to motivate us, right? I'm still working on my mom's estate. I'm handling probate for that. That should be done fairly soon, but it takes time and it's thoughtful time. What has taken a fair bit of my time that is likely of more interest to you is all the Calgary sewing stuff. We finally have under contract a venue for Calgary Frocktails. And I can share a little bit about that with you. The date is going to be September 7th. That's the Saturday after Labor Day. And I'm sharing this because it would be really wonderful to see some of you and people from out of town come to Calgary Frocktails. There are a lot of sewing stores here. We've got a nice sewing community. If you have ever thought that you might like to go to the Canadian Rockies, it is 1 hour from my house to the Canadian Rockies. And you could come to Calgary, go to Frocktails. If the person that you would travel with doesn't care about Frocktails, they could sit in a pub somewhere. And then you could go to Banff National Park, Jasper National Park, Waterton National Park, at a time of year when the kids are back in school so it's quieter. Just planting that seed. If you're making plans for a vacation in the early fall, you would be more than welcome to come to Calgary. We'll help you put together some fun things to do other than just Frocktails. But that's taken up a fair bit of my time, and it will for the next while, but it's something that I so enjoy. It's so much fun to work on. That's about all that's going on. I don't know if I'll have something for you next week. If I do, I'll record a video. If you have anything fun going on that you want to share with me, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And you know I so appreciate you watching my videos and being part of this community. I hope you're having a great week. I will see you soon. Take care.